What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Take Three podcast. My name is Brandon, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Alex. And in this episode, we're going to recap everything that happened in week 2 of the NFL season. It was a pretty eventful weekend. Not a lot of There was some great matchups, but there was a lot of meh matchups that really weren't intriguing, at least to my eye. But then some of the games really turned out being better than expected. Really, when you had Arizona and Minnesota, that really turned into something. You had what else? Seattle and the Titans turned into one hell of a ball game. Obviously, we had Sunday Night Football. Raiders go on the road. So it's kind of like stuff that on paper I wasn't really that intrigued. But then as the day went on, it built itself up. It's just another week in the NFL. What are your thoughts? Just kind of opening this thing up, coming off a busy week in the NFL.
Yeah, it was a good week. We got to learn some more about the teams to see which teams are real, which teams got some more things to figure out. It was fun. The afternoon games were much better than the noon games, and Sunday Night Football was a thriller. It's good for Lamar to finally get a win off Patrick Mahomes, kind of get that monkey off his back. Maybe it'll do something for the Ravens, ignite them. So it's exciting.
Yeah, we will get to that one. I mean, just briefly, I'll give the Packers a little bit of airtime since they kind of got business back to usual last night. It's a Lions game, so it's like I'm not going to sit here and jump up and down. I mean, Packers fans can celebrate. Congrats. You guys beat a team that you're supposed to beat. But did you see anything there? I mean, Aaron Rodgers looked like he was back, kind of slinging the rock around. But I mean, it's the Lions secondary, as I said, and then Aaron Jones, big night, 4 touchdowns. That connection was somewhat impressive, since LaFleur in the past, it seemed like Aaron Jones kind of gets screwed and screws fantasy owners over to feed Devontae Adams and other guys. But I mean, just real quick, because it's a Lions game. Anything you see with the Packers going forward?
Packers wise, it feels good to see them like get back to business and they get a W, and they did what they needed to do Monday night, open up Lambeau Field. So like they did well. Is exactly what I expected. I was more impressed with the Lions. Like Jared Goff and them are better than I thought, and they're still 0-2. So I don't know if that's really saying much, but yeah, business is back for the Packers. I want to see how they go moving forward.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Heavyweight fight coming up in week 3 in San Francisco. And yeah, honestly, the Lions, like Dan Campbell kind of has them as a game opponent. There might be another team that going into this season, maybe I got to apologize a little bit too. We kind of ripped heavy on Texans, heavy on the Lions. They're going to suck. And then I watched the Jets and the Jags are just really, they might be the 2 worst football teams in the NFL. But before we really go there, I'm going to jump back. Sunday Night Football, hell of a ball game, as you said. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes going head to head. It's usually always exciting. And I mean, it really kind of, to me, it seemed early on, at least going through the straight into the fourth, I believe, yeah, the Chiefs were up 35-24. I was like, yeah, this is kind of like a Chiefs ball game. Like Lamar's not going to be able to, it's not going to really be able to do enough to get the Ravens in position to win. And then honestly, everybody, like, I think it gets glossed over the point. Everybody looks at the Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble and says, yeah, dude, he can't fumble. But honestly, the turning point of that game that I saw was a 3rd and 8. I believe it was the previous drive where Patrick Mahomes steps up and just kind of does one of these backyard football plays. He dives, which everybody rants and raves on Twitter, makes a diving throw, a no look pass, a side armor, a 360, 80-yard pass down the field. But in this situation, 3rd and 8, steps up in the pocket, gets grabbed by the legs and just kind of flings the ball up. And obviously it's intercepted. That then gives the Ravens a short field momentum at home. And I really think that's where the game kind of turned, because you saw, I mean, that Chiefs defense, it's worrisome. They maybe have not played the 2 ideal matchups out of the gate with the Browns and the Ravens, but that run defense, they don't really have an answer for it at this point. They're kind of, I don't know. But what did you see? Obviously, the Chiefs they're still probably a favorite to win the AFC, but are you concerned that maybe they fell a victim to their own talent? That's what I was looking for on Sunday night. They kind of gave that game away.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you made a really good point with the turning point being the interception and not the fumble. Obviously, the fumble is a big deal, right? You can't have that happen. But like it shouldn't have been in that position anyway. I think the Chiefs are fine. It's like hard for me to watch the Chiefs and like worry about them because it's so hard for them to lose. So post interception and post fumble, I still felt like the Chiefs had a good chance. So post interception, it was Patrick Mahomes gets the ball back, and they're in field goal range within like 2 plays. So it looks like they were going to steal it anyway. And then the fumble happens. And then after that, it took a 4th down run by Lamar. It's just like the Chiefs never really go away, and they're so talented. And like, yeah, they might have been a victim of their talent on Sunday, but I'm not worried about them at all. Even when they lose, it's just like it's hard to not feel confident in them. They've been so good the last few years, and it takes so much going right to like beat them. They were also gifted a touchdown with Lamar's pick six to like start the game. So it's like all these things going wrong. I mean, it shows the resilience of Lamar, and he was incredibly impressive. And that fourth down run to like seal the game was nice. But it's just hard to like watch the Chiefs and worry about them. I just have like a high level of confidence in them.
Yeah, I mean, they have all the talent. Their defense, it really concerns me because, I mean, it's crazy to say it, but I mean, they're a couple plays away from really being an 0-2 football club through 2 weeks that the Browns kind of don't make their miscues and kind of fumble on the other side. And yeah, it's just interesting. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say cause for concern. I think the better teams they face, the Ravens are a bad matchup. I think that the Bucks, when you get closer to Super Bowl playoff time, I think teams are they're starting to see that blueprint. So I think the Chiefs are going to have to dial something up along the lines of that run defense because they're really relying on just explosive plays. And you saw the Ravens kind of willing to double Tyreek Hill and not get beat by Tyreek Hill, which was interesting. Kind of a page out of the Todd Bowles defensive playbook in the Super Bowl to not really get beat over the top. But then obviously the Chiefs, they kind of work magic. They still find a way to hit Travis Kelce, and that dude ran like it was Madden for a touchdown down the field. So yeah, I wouldn't say major cause for concern, but it's kind of like that backyard football style kind of it hurt this week, and their defense, at least along the running front, is kind of troublesome. Next one really jump into, it's right back to the last game that was finished. You had Cowboys Chargers SoFi Stadium. I mean, in my eyes, the refs, it seemed like some ref rigging. It was kind of embarrassing. I sat there and watched. I spent my Sunday afternoon watching refs with Cowboys plus 3.5 and money lines as the final legs of their parlays. Chargers throw a touchdown, called back. It just seemed like some BS. But I mean, on the Cowboys front, obviously we are Eagles fans, but Cowboys front, I mean, Tony Pollard, that guy looks legit out of the backfield. He looks, I don't know if all the carries on Zeke through his Ohio State career and now getting up to this point have kind of wore him down. But I watched Tony Pollard out of that backfield. That man just has a burst. He has way more explosion out of the backfield and really creates big plays in their running game. Zeke still kind of got his thing going, but Tony Pollard was literally he was a big bright spot. And I don't know if they're possibly in the future when they can get off of that Zeke contract, look to move on with Tony Pollard, kind of manage his load and then throw him into the number one spot. But I mean, what did you see along the lines of watching that game? I know I was pretty annoyed at the end of it.
Yeah, definitely not a fan of the Chargers' last touchdown getting called back and then ending up with a field goal. That seemed like it was like after they scored too. I don't know. It seemed a little bit strange, but the Cowboys played well. The offense did their thing, and the defense. We were talking about it last week. Can they just force turnovers? Because they're not a stellar defense or anything. So they're a defense that needs to get takeaways so their excellent offense can be on the field as much as possible. And they did it again this week. I mean, that's two really good offenses, Tampa Bay and the Chargers. And Dallas was able to get turnovers. Now, if you want to say there's some like luck involved in those two games with certain things just kind of bouncing their way, sure. But like you need to get the ball back for their offense. And Dallas found a way to do that again on Sunday.
Yeah, I think Trayvon Diggs, very bright spot in the secondary. That man's been balling through 2 weeks. I was impressed with him, really impressed with him on Sunday. I just think, yeah, I mean, that the Cowboys defense, as you said, they're not really a great unit, but they're just finding ways to force turnovers, get extra possessions for that offense. And we know how explosive that offense is. Dak, not really a great day, but they did enough. It was really one that they needed to get. I mean, you didn't want to be 0-2 going into your home opener on Monday Night Football. Refs rigging it or not, it's the Cowboys find a way to get it done. I was disappointed. I wanted to see them lose so bad.
Also, to the running back point, Tony Pollard is just much more explosive than Ezekiel Elliott at this point, and it looks kind of obvious on the field.
Yeah, Zeke's toast. I don't know if he ate too many hamburgers or like what's going on, too many strip clubs or boat parties. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Tony Pollard, when that guy gets the ball, either in the pass game, the run game, he just has that burst out of the backfield that just kind of, you can do more in the run game. It seems like Zeke at this point, he's a north-south. Just hand the ball to him. And if he can't run straight forward and get you 4 or 5 yards, he's shot. Can't really send him to the outside, but you can use Tony Pollard to kind of get out there. I was impressed. Kellen Moore, I mean, he's been solid game planning through 2 weeks. They've really open that up. That little play before halftime too at CD Lamb was, I was like, holy
It was
smokes.
so close.
Yeah, I was like, maybe if you have Tony Pollard there, maybe he gets that burst. I mean, Zeke kind of eating his hot dogs a little slow. That's what it was. But good win for Dallas. Big one-on-one going into the Monday Night Football division home opener. Another one we'll touch on real quick: Titans Seahawks. One that I honestly thought was like GG. I think it was 24-9 at half or something like that. And I was like, yeah, the Titans, they're just not it this year. Like they suck. And then I don't know. I really, honestly, I don't think I was following it because I was watching the Cowboys Chargers. But here comes the Derrick Henry show. I mean, they somehow get the running game going, and I mean, the king finds his way to the end zone 3 times, kind of eats it up, and they stun the Seahawks in overtime on the road. I thought that was a huge W to get, as you don't want to be 0-2 as their division rival. The Colts fell 0-2. They didn't want to join that going into a match next week. I was impressed with the Titans. How'd you feel about the Titans going out on the road in Seattle? Tough crowd getting a W.
I was real impressed, especially because they were down early and the Titans, run heavy. Yes, they have weapons, but they're run heavy. So it made me a little worried about scoring the points and coming back. But they looked really good. I think this is like the biggest W of the weekend for a team because it's just huge for Tennessee, considering how bad they looked against Arizona week 1. And like I was worried about Tennessee because I was high on them coming into the season. They looked abysmal. And this is a great win. All 3 touchdowns came on the ground. Derrick Henry, 35 carries. If you can get Derrick Henry 35 carries in a game, Tennessee's probably looking pretty well. Seattle, that's not a good look. Home game, blew the lead. What do you think Seattle does? Just go back to normal? They back to the drawing board? Do you think it was like big things that need to fix, or just little things, or the offense just kind of stalled completely?
Yeah, it just seemed like another one of those things from last year, right? They're rolling, and then it kind of bang, you hit the wall, and then the Titans kind of get it together. I mean, they should have a week this week. They play the Vikings, pretty trash defense. They should be able to work some things out. But yeah, I mean, we saw that Seahawks team from last year, the second half of last year, kind of pop up, and they didn't really have any answers. And then the Titans, as you said, I mean, after playing 6 shitty quarters of football to start the year, really to put the last, I guess you consider the overtime a third quarter, to put the final 3 quarters together, it was, I'd say, as you said, biggest W of the weekend for a team, especially on the road. Go for it.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I just worry for Seattle moving forward, honestly, because like you need all the wins you can get in the NFC West, and like the other teams look very good, and you blowing a big lead at home and the offense stalling out, especially with how the season ended last year for them, just not good looks for Seattle last Sunday.
Yeah, you don't want to give one up at home that you're seemingly in control of going into half. Yeah, that's definitely disappointing. I guess we'll just touch real fast. Vikings, awful field goal. I don't know. I thought it was a wraps. Cardinals eke it out. Maybe the fakest 2-0 team in the league right now. But that offense is exciting, but the defense kind of got chewed up. They were definitely not the same defense as they were week 1 against the Titans. Anything there? Obviously, it's big to be 2-0 in that division, as you said.
Yeah, they escaped with the W. I'm sure Arizona feels they can do a lot of things better, and they're just happy that they got a win.
Yeah, facts. I'm going to glance over a bunch of these games as kind of just normal business. I want a big one in the afternoon, or the early afternoon, was the Raiders going across the coast. They were going to Pittsburgh and kind of beating up on the Steelers. They kind of shocked the Steelers. They kind of did their thing. I was impressed, although I did not catch that much, but that's a huge win to go on the road, start the season. You beat the Ravens and the Steelers to start the year. And it kind of just looked like the Steelers defense got beat up. Obviously, Joe Hayden didn't play, and Devin Bush there both out with groin injuries. And then you have TJ Watt mid-game go down with a groin injury. So it's kind of not a good look for a unit that really has to carry that football team. Their offense sucked. There's no other way to say it for the Steelers. Their offense blows. I don't know. What do you see in Steeler land? I'm impressed with the Raiders being able to find a kind of eke out victories, and through 2 weeks they have the most total yards offensive wise.
Yeah, the Raiders have been impressive. Hats off to them, beating Baltimore and then beating Pittsburgh. That's an impressive 2-0. Their offense is very, very good. It's very hard to cover Darren Waller, and Derek Carr has been throwing a great deep ball. They just look good. But Pittsburgh, I'm worried about Pittsburgh. I don't know how they beat Buffalo. I mean, I know it was like defense. There was like a block punt, I believe. It's like defensive and special teams for Pittsburgh, and that's just so hard to rely on like week in and week out for like a pick six or a block punt or a special teams touchdown of some sort. It's just their offense is so bad. The offensive line is not good. They drafted Najee Harris, and their running game is still abysmal. And it's not Najee Harris's fault. They get no push off the block. They can't hold or like create space for the running back. The D lines just always beaten up on that offensive line. So it's like I don't know how Pittsburgh is going to make it through the season. I don't think they're a playoff team, honestly. And like they'll figure out a way to win 8 games. I don't really know how. It's just going to be Mike Tomlin coaching in that defense.
Yeah, where you've had a Trey Turner spitting on the opponent. I'm not sure that should be I think he got ejected for that too, man. He should probably I mean, I'm going to be honest, it's probably be suspended for at least a game going forward. That's kind of like on the streets. That's one of the more disrespectful things to do. I don't know during a pandemic if you should be doing that on the football field. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, they cut their whole line or got rid of them. Villanueva out, David DeCastro, Pro Bowler out, and you kind of get what you got when you got a 40-year-old quarterback. He's now beat up, pec injury. So now your offense is going to be more limited. They're kind of in a bad spot. Defense is beat up 2 weeks into the season. The defense is beat up. I think TJ Watt will be good going forward. They said he's on track to, he won't miss any time, but it's just not a good look for a unit that has to carry them so far to already be getting banged up and then seeing their offense with the quarterback position. I mean, Big Ben, he's a veteran. So as bad as he is at this point, he's still like a veteran piece. So you can kind of maybe trust him to make a big throw. I don't know. I'm saying that with like my fingers crossed as I say it, because I don't really trust him. But yeah, I think through 2 games, the Steelers, to channel the words of my man Conor McGregor, I think it was a fluke victory week 1. I think if you replay that game 10 times, they squeezed. That's the one win that they would get. Like they got the one time they caught the Bills off guard, and they got them good. Really, I mean, there's kind of 2 more that I'd like to talk about, at least in the early slate. Yeah, we obviously got to bring it up. The Winston wagon went into Carolina, and the wheels fell off fast. He had 90 yards. I think it was 93 yards, 2 picks. The team looked like garbage. Marshawn Lattimore obviously out with a thumb injury on the defensive side, but they literally looked like 2 different teams. Kudos to the Panthers for getting a division win. You always want to get division W's, especially against a rival like the Saints, who you expect to kind of compete with for at least maybe a wild card spot or towards the end of the line if the Bucs somehow faltered for division. But what do you see there? What do you say? I mean, I'm going to leave it to you. He's your guy. He's your guy rocking the gold and black for the Saints. What did you see through week 2? Was it a fluke week in week 1?
Oh, man. We saw some pretty rough quarterback play from Jameis Winston. That was definitely the old bad Jameis. That's not what we want to see. But the Saints honestly didn't, like, offensively, they didn't look ready to go. They were just dominated all game by Carolina. Like, Carolina's defense got whatever they want. And then shout out to Sam Darnold, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good for him. He's playing well. That offense is pretty good. I thought they'd be pretty good. I expected more from the Saints defense as well, but like the team as a whole, maybe it's like they have like 10 or 11 coaches on COVID. Maybe that caught up to him. Maybe like not being home caught up to him, or maybe they're not that good of a football team and I'm just high on them. I don't know yet. I still think their roster is good. I still think they have pieces around them. I didn't really like the play calling at all in the first half. Like they were still down a lot and running the ball and not getting a lot of yards. So there wasn't a lot I liked from this game at all. And then Jameis reverted a lot.
Yeah, he reverted. I'm just going to kind of say, do you think Sean Payton does not trust Jameis, right? Like the whole big thing, your big scheme was going into the year. Jameis Winston's so much better arm than Drew Brees. But I mean, the thing about Drew Brees is we saw consistency. Yeah, he might not bomb at 50 yards down the field, but we saw him be able to be cerebral back there and pick apart defenses, even through the short passing game. Do you think Sean Payton he does not really trust Jameis Winston? Because I mean, that's really what I see. Like, although he threw the 5 touchdowns in week 1, he wasn't going out and gunslinging. Like Sean Payton was really putting him in position in the red zone to just make reads and make easy throws, not really put the game on his back. And this was kind of the first week where they're down. And usually you'd see a coach say, hey, all right, quarterback, go win me a game and or go get us back into the game. And Sean Payton clearly did not do that. Do you think Sean Payton just does not trust Jameis up to this point?
I 100% think Sean Payton does not trust Jameis up to this point. And you make a good point, even when he threw the 5 touchdowns. Yeah, one of them was a deep ball because it was just like insanely wide open. But you watch the game plan, like there's not a lot of trust in Jameis. It's running the ball, getting him really easy open throws, just like making sure he doesn't do a lot of work. And that's how I felt when they were getting their butt kicked against Carolina and they were still running the ball. It's like just the play calling. And you talked about consistency with Drew Brees. Well, like Drew Brees, because he had the trust, was given consistent, like stretch the field play calling in his heyday, especially when it was Jimmy Graham and them. They were always vertical passing, 20-yard gains and all that. And like, I thought we'd see more of it so far. Maybe Michael Thomas will come back later in the season. You'll see it open up a little bit more. Maybe Jameis can gain some trust. But like, I do not think Sean Payton is play calling just openly like how he would want if it was like Drew Brees. I don't think he trusts him fully, and it feels obvious by the way they run the ball and like the passing plays they call. And
Yeah.
part of it might be the wide receiver group too. Like he doesn't trust them as pass catchers as well. Like the whole unit, basically, with the exception of the running game.
Yeah, there's not really a reliable guy. Just last question. You think we're going to see more Taysom Hill going forward? It's kind of forces Sean Payton's hand to maybe throw Taysom Hill out there and some more packages, kind of more things for him. It's kind of leaving the door open each week because he doesn't really give Jameis full reins of the offense.
I think we probably see some increased Taysom Hill this week. And it's going to depend if Jameis has a game closer to week 1 or closer to week 2. If he has another really bad game, I think we'll slowly just see more and more Taysom. But I really think if Jameis can't turn it around and play well, the Saints are going to be in a lot of trouble because like if Taysom Hill was that much better, he would have beat him out already and he would be the starter. It wouldn't be anything. But like Jameis was the start and all that. So if they go to Taysom, like I don't have a lot of confidence in it. But I'm not giving up on the team. I still think the roster is very good. It's just, man, there's a big question mark on the consistency of Jameis.
Yep, that's what I said, man. Six wins, 7. I'll be nice, maybe say 7 because they kind of squeaked out that Packers one. And really last one from the early stretch: Rams on the road. Carson Wentz's Colts. He got beat up. They got stuffed in the red zone a bunch of times. He hurt both ankles. Now he sprained both ankles. I don't know how that happens. I don't know if he's going to come out 2 moon boots for week 3. His status is kind of up in the air. Are the Colts, are they in trouble? Like this is kind of, it wasn't an ideal start for the Colts to go 0-2 both home games out of the gate. And now you go, we'll touch on the Tennessee game for week 3 in the next episode. But I mean, are you worried about the Colts?
Yeah, I would be worried about the Colts. Carson Wentz got through 2 games. Like he barely got through training camp and all that. He broke his foot, and a lot of bad things have been going wrong for the Colts since Carson Wentz got there. And it's like it's a shame for Carson. I was rooting for him, but the Rams look good. They beat him again, and I would be worried about the Colts because now instead of Tennessee also being 0-2, and you can kind of like feel good that the two teams that you would expect to lead the division are both 0-2. Instead, they really got it going against Seattle and got a great road win. So now Tennessee's feeling great heading into week 3, and Indianapolis is feeling the complete opposite. I don't feel good about Indianapolis at all. I don't think they make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, they're in a bad spot. I'm going to be honest, on a bright spot. When I was watching, I was tuned into this, and Carson Wentz, he did look good. Like he looked comfortable back there. He's making a lot of throws, but then obviously he got his ankle rolled up on pretty bad, and then that was really a wrap. But yeah, they kind of really needed to at least go 1-1 through the first 2 to kind of put you in a good spot going forward. I don't know if you want to be 0-2 heading into a division game where with a banged up quarterback. So I don't know if you want to be going into a Titans game with Jacob Eason as your quarterback. You're kind of in desperation. To move on with that, I just want to go through a little QB carousel. We kind of already touched on Jameis Winston. I want to go straight to the Jets. Zach Wilson, is it too early to say that the Jets kind of they've jetsed us again? They kind of whiffed. They go Zach Wilson. At one point, he was like 4 of 8 for 4 interceptions and like 90 yards. I saw a meme on Twitter. I mean, technically, he had 8 completions because he threw 4 to the other team. But yeah, he just looks out of sorts. And I mean, in New York, it's not going to get easier as the interceptions mount up. And he kind of showed flashes towards the end of the Carolina game, but then you face Bill Belichick, who's like 9-0 against rookie quarterbacks. He kind of feasts on the rookie quarterbacks. So, I mean, maybe cut him some slack, but he's just looked bad. I mean, did they go wrong again?
Man, I don't want to say they just straight up went wrong yet or it was a bad pick. It's just been 2 games. I'm hopeful for the young man that he can have a good career, especially for the Jets. But, like, it does not look good. It looks like a classic new Jets regime. Things aren't going well. It's one thing to lose games, but it's like the fashion in which they did it. 4 completions, 4 picks, like that was really bad. It doesn't instill confidence. And then the New York media just eats everything up. So like if if this continues, like this isn't just a weekly thing, or he does this a couple more times throughout the season, it's going to get rough for him.
Yeah, he just hadn't looked good, right? It's like all really the expectation was just look like a serviceable quarterback, and it's interesting to see that they move on from Sam Darnold, who's only 24. Obviously, the bridges were kind of burnt, but now you move on to this other quarterback who's only 2 years younger than Sam Darnold at 22, and kind of really only had one good year of college football, which is a weird COVID year anywhere, where they're kind of just firing out scheduling week by week, and kind of BYU is getting games. But it's just weird. He's kind of already thrown more interceptions. He threw more interceptions in that one game than he did all year last year at BYU. So he hasn't really looked serviceable at all. And then another guy, the number one overall pick, who was picked just before him, Trevor Lawrence, 14 to 33, 118 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. He's only sacked once. I didn't really get to watch much because it's Broncos, Jaguars. Can't lie. I'm not really jumping to the TV screen to see Teddy Two Gloves and some defense. But I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, I guess we can touch on him. He was pretty good, 26 to 34 for 328, 2 touchdowns and no picks. And then, so is there cause for concern in Jacksonville that kind of Trevor Lawrence is now, he's lost now 2 games, and he's kind of not really been that great through 2 games. It's the Urban Meyer regime. Is it not it already?
There is concern for Jacksonville, and I do think it's not it, but not for Trevor Lawrence. It's more for Urban Meyer and most of that roster regime that's there. I know it's new, and he'll get a little bit of time, but I don't have a ton of confidence in Urban Meyer and that team as a whole. The only reason I have confidence in Trevor Lawrence is because he's so talented. It's only been 2 games, and like a dude that's that good, number 1 pick, like he can turn it around, and he can have a good career for sure. But it's just the pieces around him, the franchise, the coach, the teammates, the roster. I don't feel good about the personnel in Jackson or the coaching. So it's like Jacksonville's kind of in a rough position.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to kind of see where they go forward with Trevor Lawrence. I think he certainly kind of has to muster something up and kind of cut the turnovers down. You don't really want to be throwing it to the other team, find a way to make plays. But yeah, I mean, their O-line sucks. Their defensive line kind of sucks as well. And Urban Meyer's really he's kind of back to reality, right? You can't pick on the college recruiting scheme. You can't just go out and get whoever you want. And now we're kind of seeing, Urban Meyer, similar to how Nick Saban was, to be honest. Some guys are just built for college, right? Nick Saban wasn't very good. He went 1-15 with the Dolphins. Some guys are just built for college. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. And then really final quarterback that I want to touch on, Dolphins, Tua. I think he left very early, bruised ribs, I think it was. They showed it was no broken ribs, but I mean, we're kind of seeing it again. He came off the hip injury when he was drafted at Alabama. Before that, I was kind of super hype on Tua. I was like, this is the guy, like he's going to change somebody's franchise, whoever gets him. But now we're kind of seeing why the Dolphins were exploring Deshaun Watson trades throughout the offseason. I don't even know how to really word this, but are we afraid that Tua, he's never really going to live up to that potential that he was kind of drafted as to be the franchise guy in Miami?
Yeah, I don't think Tua is really going to be like a superstar for Miami at all. I think at best he'll be serviceable. I think like the ideal ceiling for Tua was to look like Russell Wilson out there, but like I don't think he's going to be able to reach or get close to that. I don't have a lot of confidence in Tua. If I'm Miami, I would try go all in for a quarterback, whether that be Deshaun, and hopefully those things clear up for him and maybe he plays, or it would be a different situation. But like the NFL is a win now league. You only get like really good rosters. It doesn't last long. It can happen really fast where your roster is really good to really bad. So like Miami has a small window to try and utilize this really good roster, and like they might be a quarterback away because the team is pretty damn good. So if I'm Miami, I am worried about Tua, and I would try and get Deshaun or another option if that's possible.
Yeah, too. He's kind of just injury prone, and that's kind of what the NFL does. Their line's really not that great, but I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, they kind of have enough to really win games, and to lose 35-0 and then him go off with another injury. It's just it doesn't bode well going forward. Now to kind of really wrap this thing up, I guess we can talk about Tom Brady real quick. 5 touchdowns, no picks. Man's 44. Does he just continue to impress? It's crazy to think that he just continues to set the bar even higher as we go forward in this season. And he's kind of, I would say right now, he's got to be the MVP favorite, even though we're only 2 weeks through this thing. But that man, he's just ridiculous.
44 years old, and he legitimately might be playing the best football of his career. It's inhuman. It's ridiculous. Like, I lose the adjectives to describe how good Tom Brady is. And he seems like he can play till 50. He joked about it before, but now I might believe him.
Yeah, he really can. It's crazy. I saw a stat on Twitter. I think it was yesterday that he's going to throw more touchdowns in his 40s than he did in his 20s. So it's like it's insane. He hits another bar. It's really amazing to watch a guy that's that old who should probably be fading out, as we watch Eli, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning all get phased out of the league, and he's kind of still standing there. I saw another one where it was like we got all these young quarterbacks. We got Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, and Tom Brady still going to play for the next decade. It was super it was super funny. Tom just kind of he finds a way to get it done. Last thing I really want to wrap up on is which 2-0 team are you buying more stock in, the Broncos or the Panthers? Both 2-0. Both
Ooh.
people on the docket would kind of question both. Don't really know how far Sam Darnold can take a team. We don't really know how far Teddy Bridgewater can take a team. Which team are you taking as more of kind of a threat to make a playoff run and be the real deal? And which team is kind of just they got lucky 2 weeks in a row and they're not really those guys?
Honestly, I think both of those teams are pretty good on paper. This is a really good question. I like both of them. Both of them have the defending conference champions as in their division, so it'll be tough for them to win the division. They both could be wild cards for sure. If I were to lean towards a team right now, I would lean towards Denver because their defense is really good and they have enough skill positions. And Teddy Bridgewater is not great, but he's definitely good and he knows how to not turn the ball over, which I think is important. And for Carolina, their defense has played well, and they had a really good showing against the Saints. Very impressed with that secondary. If they can build on that and keep that up, the answer might flip. But for now, I would lean Denver because of their defense.
Yeah, same here. I'd go with Denver. Teams Teddy Bridgewater's kind of reincarnated himself and is kind of balling out. It's funny, the teams are kind of they're built very like similar. They got these QBs that you have a question about, then they kind of got a ton of weapons around them. Obviously, Denver has Cortland Sutton. They got Melvin Gordon, Noah Fant, KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy when he's healthy. And then they obviously, I love the Broncos defense. Patrick Surtain through 2 weeks, showing he's the real deal. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb back there. He had an ankle injury, but when he's there, it's legit. Justin Simmons. See, I'd be right on board with you. Like, I'd be buying more stock in the Denver Broncos than I would the Panthers. But I definitely I like both squads as of through 2 weeks. I think they're doing what they got to do, right? It doesn't matter who you play, you got to win. In the National Football League, you got to win games. Doesn't matter who's on the schedule. So it'll be interesting to see both of those teams going forward. Any kind of wrap up? Actually, let me slow down here. We'll jump in now to kind of wrap this thing up. We're going to go through where we went wrong on picking each game against the spread and our overall records on the week and through 2 weeks as a whole. Let's flop it over. So this is kind of where we went in week 2. Kind of, we both hit home on the Giants, then we both got whiffed on by the Saints. Bengals kind of screwed me. Kind of trusted the Bengals. Then I kind of rolled with Houston. Any picks that you're kind of like you're down on, like screw that team? They screwed me over.
Well, the Rams definitely should have covered that. The freaking Colts picking up that ball and getting that touchdown. And then I need to put more respect on Houston's name. They played pretty good football. They hung in there with the Browns. They lost Tyrod Taylor. They brought in the rookie and still had a scoring drive. So shout out to Houston. The Rams was super disappointing, and the Bengals was super, super disappointing. Joe Burrow with the 3 picks. I don't know what that was about. And then looked good again after that and scored a touchdown. It was a little ridiculous.
Yeah, for me, the Cardinals kind of pissed me off. I don't know. They're at home. They look so good on the road, and you go home and you face the Vikings, and I was just like, what? Like, what the hell is going on? Chiefs as well, dude. Like, Patrick Mahomes doesn't act like a clown. Like, they should easily cover the 3.5. And then the Rams, dude. It's sitting there. The Rams is annoying too, man. That punt, like literally, they gave the Colts. I don't know what the guy was doing on the punt coverage. Hits off his side, bounces into the end zone, gives the Colts a free touchdown. I mean, we both picked it up. You started 4-11 week 1. You got 7-8 this week. We both went 7-8, and then John goes 6-9. So through 2 weeks, I mean, I sit with a 1-game lead at 13-17. John is 12-18, and then you're at 11-19. We're all within like we're all
Very
within,
close.
yeah, we're all kind of, we're within that range. We're kind of starting to understand some of these teams. And yeah, as you said, I should have chimed in. Yeah, shout out Houston. David Culley really has those guys as a live opponent. They're not really just going to be a rollover team. He's kind of built a little bit of a culture. We don't really talk about it because they're kind of not that, they're not in win now mode. They're not really exciting to talk about. But I think you give them 3-4 years, give David Culley some time, and I think he can really build a program. You kind of see the foundation that they're going to play hard, a little bit of that Ravens culture down there in Houston, which is kind of exciting to see if you're a Texans fan. Any really wrap up thoughts before we kind of get out of here and kind of move on and get ready for week 3?
Last thing I have to say is my one quick Eagles mention. They look better than I thought against the Niners. They need to finish drives, figure out how to get the ball into the end zone at the end, but pleasantly surprised through 2 weeks.
Yep, same here. I'll chime in on that. Yep, impressed. Yeah, they just had to polish off drives. That's kind of where the game was lost in the red zone. Got even Nick Sirianni said a little too fancy with that little Philly special call, which was definitely some things to work on going forward. But I mean, that is going to be a wrap for today's show. I want to thank everybody for listening, and please like, subscribe, and comment if you have any suggestions on how we can really improve this whole experience with either if it's the recaps or the weekly review. As always, yeah, we'd love to hear your opinion. Spotify link will be in the description, as well as our Twitter and Instagram. I think they will all be down there in the description. If you want to talk to us, comment on us, say we suck. We'd love to hear it. And as always, yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you Thursday for the week 3 preview.